Hi, I'm Kendall. Welcome to my front yard. I just got back from a trip where I was gone for 8 days, and I figured I would just walk you around my yard because it's basically the first day of summer. It's nice and shady here. We got back from Tucson where it was 115 degrees, and it's like 75 degrees here today, which is perfection. So let me walk you around the yard. I'm going to talk you through some of the things that I set up to keep my garden watered while I was away. I can feel myself starting to get a little bit sick, which happens almost every single time I get on an airplane. So I thought we would squeeze this in today before I go too far off the deep end. So thanks for joining me. I hope you learn a little something from my garden. We're starting on the side of my mudroom entrance, and I have a hose bib here with a timer and a silver hose that will be buried at some point that I ran over to my self-watering system on this GreenStalk. So that runs for a couple minutes a day and fills up this reservoir at the top, and then that drips down to feed all of our strawberries, and we put different varieties on each of the levels of this GreenStalk. I think they need better pollination over here. The next thing we can take a look at is the clover lawn. We're in the middle of June right now, first day of summer, and it is all budded up. I think I would like to trim it down before it seeds everywhere because I would like to put some other ground covers. I've kind of been growing some of this blue star creeper here that I'm planning on taking chunks out of this pot and transplanting it along the edges here so we can get some of that beautiful coloration. Before we look at the rest of that yard, let's go take a look up at the porch. This planting is constantly in progress here. It does not get hit by sprinklers, so I'm just deciding on some low water needs plants that are going to go in this section. There's some creeping Jenny on the ground right there. And then I'm going to put these small rudbeckias in. Next, we're going to take a look at our mudroom porch plantings. Better show you around the side first here. Just so you're oriented, that's a gate to my backyard. Here's the mudroom porch. I have these self-watering containers planted up. I did make a whole video about that for you, but have not posted it yet. Let me know if you're interested in that. These petunias have been great. This is actually a slightly different color one there, just to be clever. And there's lemongrass, there's some basil. I started from seed that I snuck back here. Lots of lettuce, ground cover, weed barrier there. And then this one has thyme and 4 different types of mint planted in there. I love having that right outside the kitchen. Next up, let's take a look. I don't know, let's do this section right here next. So there's 2 planters there, and they have some, I think, perpetual spinach, and then some fancy osteospermum that were super root bound that I just put in these before I left. So those are trying to establish. And I did pop some sunflower seeds in. It looks like those are establishing there. You will see that I put sunflowers all over my garden because I bought a huge bag and germinated them all. We have some, these are supposed to be veggie beds. There's 3 of them here. It's kind of hard to see because the clover's grown up so tall. Technically this is microclover, but because it gets watered regularly with an in-ground sprinkling system that I have, there's a head for that right there. It is kind of huge. It's probably 12 inches tall or more because these beds are 12 inches tall. So these are the Corten steel beds from Epic Gardening. I put some little arbor trellis things on them so I could grow some peas. There's a edible pea. Oh, there's one coming right now. And then I sprinkled lettuce mix all over the base, and there is some kale in here. The bok choy has all gone to seed, which I enjoy. Maybe I will harvest some of that seed. I planted it a little bit late. There's the center of the bok choy plant to really harvest much of it, but there's also a couple kale plants snuck in there. So we've been harvesting lots of lettuce and enjoying that. And then I have 3 planters along the front, which I always mean to put completely fresh new things in, and then I run out of time and I don't do it. So right now they have some what I think might be like a pearl yarrow that hasn't opened yet. I'm waiting to see what that is. There's a salvia in the middle that needs a trim back. There are some geraniums on the edges that are just doing okay. There are some very tiny stalk plants that I started from seed. I did try to put some sweet peas in here. I can see that they're maybe still alive, but maybe not thriving. So when I come in my gate here to my front border, I have some pots that sort of rim the edge of this border here between the plants and the clover. So there's some things stuck in those pots. Sometimes I just kind of put things there temporarily. There's a really pretty nasturtium that my friend gave me. I'm gonna deadhead that. And then there's a scabiosa, that's a perennial scabiosa to add some color here. I love perennial geraniums, so you'll see a lot of those dotted around in here. And then this is a new peewee hydrangea, oak leaf hydrangea that I added here, so it'll stay pretty small. And then there's some trellises. You'll see an asparagus plant ferning up right there. Oh, my calamintha has started to bud up. This is a new plant, so I'm just seeing this for the first time. It's very soft. This is some candy tuft that's kind of gone to seed here. And then this is a pot holding some plant that I can't remember right now that was just supposed to hold it. And it's just been living there for a year. I have some bulb pots there, just holding some things for me. And then I have an acanthus, bear's breeches, that has gotten a lot taller than I expected here in this nice shady spot. So that's gonna open these buds. Let's see if I can get you a better spot from underneath. Kind of these purplish, spiky blooms. Great for a shady spot. I think I'm not sure why it's browning, maybe drying out or maybe too wet. And then we recently added this sneaky little path back here. Here's a holding spot for some heuchera that I took out of a pot. My hydrangea back here is just starting to bud up. And then there's some dog poop, you'll have to ignore that. So I put this path in over where we had some yuccas. So the yuccas will forever try to come up through here, but I'm gonna try to stay on top of pulling them out. And then that connects me all the way back behind my giant rhododendron to a brick patio area there. So this is just sort of the back view, the shady section. There's another oak leaf back here. This one's supposed to get bigger and has put on some new growth, so it must be pretty happy back here. There's a lot of foxgloves. This hydrangea is a really pretty color, so looking forward to that one blooming. I have a couple blueberry bushes in here forming up blueberries, and these have really pretty fall color. And then I have some clematis that I probably could tie up a little bit more on these trellises, and some mardigan lilies, just sort of the end of their season. Oh, we have a clematis flower. Hello, you're gorgeous. And then that is a Henderson checker mallow. You can see the mallow leaves down there. That's a native plant for us, and the pink blooms on the top. There's a new viburnum in here. I don't think she put on any flowers this year. Maybe just not yet. These are, I think, anemones getting ready for the fall already. And then my etopeonies are done blooming. And then there's some random trees growing in pots back here. And then I have a project here where I'm planning to cut these up and put them between the stones and around the stones back here. So that is my little hidden patio area. Let's come back out front. Did I forget to tell you anything about that area? Probably. Let me know if you have any questions. Let's go out to the curb strip. I have 2 catmint that are pretty much ready to be cut back anytime. You can see that they have their new growth coming from the base there. You don't have to cut catmint back, but because this is so big and on top of my sprinkler heads, I'll be cutting that back. I have a nice foxglove bed here. And I have I always think this plant dies and then it comes back. This is a honeysuckle bush. There's some kinnikinnick on the ground. And then I have a native 9-bark here that has flowered already. And I have a rose in front of it that probably needs some training. And then this is the view of the curb strip and a view from the sidewalk of those 3 planters and the porch boxes on the strawberry tower and my pile of boxes. So this little piece along the sidewalk's gotten a little chaotic with microclover, but it's still fun. I'm just kind of letting it be for now. I've got some sedum coming back from last year, looking nice. This Queen Anne's lace wants to live everywhere in my yard, but it's easy to pull up. I have this Gara coming back from last year that I'm really excited about. She is gorgeous. Not all of those plants came back, but quite a few did. And then you'll see a lot of this Verbena bonariensis just coming into bloom now. Here's a front view of this bed. Oh, I forgot to say that the Roseanne geranium is big and beautiful. It was raining earlier, so she's kind of nodding down, but she gets huge on this front bed here. And then there's some more Gara. This Verbena bonariensis is huge. It's 6 feet tall. So it's a little bit of a funny spot for it, right but in front of the gate there, but so far it's standing up, so I'm gonna leave it. And then the rhododendron is over and ready to be trimmed back. Oh, and there's another huge acanthus. I think this is year 3 for this acanthus. So I need to trim up the rhododendron bush so you can see that. This is where I moved my corkscrew filbert. Oh, here's a back view of the acanthus. Maybe you can see those spikes. All right, I'm gonna finish the front before I go into the brick patio area, so let's do a quick walk around. I took out 2 boxwoods I had here that the dogs were killing, but only one of these escalonias is doing well. The other one got some broken branches right away by big dogs, but we'll see how she comes back. Got a geranium coming. I've got a lot of grass that needs to get pulled out here, but the daisies have started. These are all columbine seed heads. And the penstemmon's beautiful. I don't love how a lot of stuff in this front bed is kind of the same height, so I will have some editing to do there, but it's gonna be fine for this year. This is Silene. It's kind of falling over there. The roses need some food. They're just in these little pots. And then the ceanothus is almost done blooming. And then I will trim it up. It's turned into quite a big bush that's coming out over the sidewalk. And there's some lilies getting ready to bloom. This is a native geum that found its way up here. Happy about that. And then I have some Veronicastrum that is kind of huge and floppy. I think it gets too much water right here, so I'm gonna at least move this front one. You can see how it's coming out over the sidewalk, but I just love that leaf structure. So for now, I'll probably just find a way to push it back and support it for this year. And then I have some Carl Forrester grass that I finally got in the ground. And then that yellow one in there, I just looked that up. It's a coreopsis. So I didn't get a chance to put taller sprinkler heads in before I left for vacation. These are asters along here. There's some chamomile. And so the backside of this bed isn't getting a lot of water. Here's another view of those penstemon. These are Siberian wallflower seed heads. You can see that just a little bit of the flower left over, so I'll let those reseed themselves around. They're a nice early bloomer. There's a lavender there. This peony got transplanted. I should have cut the buds off and I didn't, so I'm not sure if it will survive. We're just gonna leave it alone. And then all of these daisies came from a seed packet. And they are very tall. So I will be editing daisies out next year because there's a huge clump right here. But for now, it's fine. Some more Verbena bonariensis. A couple things spotted around. There's some Maximilian sunflower that seeded itself over here. A lot of clover. Microclovers worked its way into here. There's some really cute alliums that are pretty small this year because we put them in a little late, but they're still really cute. And then I kind of decide if I want to edit these out. I wait and see if they're the chocolate kind or the white kind, which is kind of weedy. And then this is another native plant. I think it's a Gilia. I'm letting that go to seed. There's some alyssum here, and there's a rock rose down here, and a little bit more coreopsis that I think came from that seed packet. And then this corner bed gets the most sun. I planted these daisies from a garden center. So these are a little different than the other ones. And then we can see in here, there is Erigerum. I always say that wrong. There's some phlox starting up there. And there's a geranium. Oop, it's starting to rain. I put some grasses in here a couple years ago. And then I put some lavender here so that if you're sitting on this bench, it smells good. Let's walk around the periphery really quick. These lavender are just starting to fill out and kind of spill over the street here a little. There's some fun daisies in there and some lilies that are really tall. And then these are actually the daisies I planted from the garden center. I cannot believe how small they are. and I roasted these carnations. I think they're not getting a sprinkler all the way out here. But sedum's happy because it doesn't want that much water. And then there's a lot of crocosmia starting to bud up. That usually blooms around 4th of July here. So you can tell this corner doesn't quite get water. The alyssum's really dry. Lavender's happy. Kind of got a lavender hedge on the edge here. So let's take a look back at the street. Anything on this side we need to look at? Most of this is Maximilian sunflower in the center here. That'll bloom late summer. We have some gooseneck, loosestrife. We have some liatris coming up here. And then we have some hot lips on the edge here. Who else is in here? There's a little bit of a campanula trying to do its thing down here. Kind of sad. There's an allium hiding in there. And then, yeah, here are the crocosmia getting ready. And then, oh, looks like we have some Monarda. That's exciting. Some very tiny bee balm, but very cute. And that's a penstemon. No, that's a geranium. I can't remember the name of it. I'll put it on the screen. And lots of catmint. Okay, let's do this corner bed. It's starting to rain. So we have a really pretty corner with some 9 bark. It's a dwarf 9 bark with a really pretty arch. There's a lot of new things over here. There's a totally tangerine GM, so that could get cut back. There's a, I think this is a Schubertii allium, it's kind of tiny. That is a Phlomis. We'll see if she fills in. And somehow, here's my Japanese maple and fine maple above it. Somehow these St. John's wort planted themselves in here. I think I'm gonna pull them out. Those can get a little invasive. I've got a couple oh so easy roses, a pink one. The yellow one's getting pushed out by all this marjoram, so that needs a cut back. Got some carnations, tiny ones there, and lots of yarrow. Great for pollinators. These are some lupins gone to seed here. Oh, there's another St. John's wort back there. Some more Veronicastrum back there. A mock orange that needs transplanting. And then before I left on my trip, I popped a couple GMs in the ground. This geranium is maybe getting a little hot. These are all spent seeds, so this might need a cut back. And then there's a Camp Beauty oregano right there. So this is not getting enough water. I will work on that. What else is in here? Anything else? Some foxgloves are done. These are Nigella seed pods, so pretty. And it's a teeny tiny Nigella flower. And then I got a random pink yarrow up here. There's a James Galway rose on the arbor. Can I get in there and show it to you? Definitely were a lot of buds on this one, but it has a really pretty bloom on it. Not sure this clematis is getting munched a lot. We'll see if that ends up blooming. And then there's a lady's mantle in bloom down here. I really like the lady's mantle and the catmint coloration together with this totally tangerine. And then we're gonna enter the front area here. I tried to plant some sweet peas along here. They're not doing so well. I did plant a jasmine there, and there are some buds on it, so I think she might survive. And then I did install a hose link up here since my last video. So this is the base of that big rhododendron tree. And then this brick patio has a border around it that this kind of ends up being a workstation. So I pushed everything over here and I set up a sprinkler on a timer. So everything that got water while I was gone is on this sprinkler system here. And these are some native plants I started from seed. This was uprooted from somewhere. And lots of sunflowers. Oh, that one got knocked over, probably by a chipmunk. So I did put apples in the ground here. I have some columnar apples. There are some sunflowers there, some sunflowers in the ground. We'll see how they do. I think the dogs are doing a number on them. And there's some really pretty feverfew just on the other side of the fence there, and some more apples. And then hopefully we can get these pumpkins to take hold and kind of grow out over the patio. Here's a slug. Welcome to the Pacific Northwest. And then some more feverfew. This is feverfew season right now. I put a grape in over here. This is some aster left over from the previous homeowners. I've just kind of left here. A grape. And then this is an auto watering system that I tried to set up, but the battery is dead. And these are some old roses that were here when I moved in, and I cut them all the way back and they continue to come up. So then we have my front porch planters, which were supposed to be bulbs, but are pretty much lettuce and violas at this point. Hilarious. I grew the violas from seed, so I'm pretty happy about that. But you can see they get very different sun here on the front. Yeah, so then from the back of the brick patio area, I have these 3 big self-watering planters. The center one has a big, I'm drawing a blank right now. Is it a 9-bark? I think it says 9-bark variety in it. I had some really pretty anemones in it. Are there any good anemones left? Not really. So that was fun. There's corms in there, and then there's some Bidens coming back at the base there. And then I put some annual sunflowers in here. And some marigolds in the corners. And those could use some deadheading. And then this one doesn't get as much sun, I think. We'll see how that goes. And then along here are some Gaillardia and some poached egg flowers. But I don't think they get enough sun right there. So that is my brick patio area. Kind of chaotic, but that's okay. Let's walk around to the backyard. See if there's anything I forgot to tell you. I'd love to plant up a little border here more intentionally. Here's a look back into the yard from the sidewalk. There's a camellia there. So I have a really big rhododendron 2-story and a 2-story camellia that's white right there. So I also have that my front curb strip is irrigated, but the side one is not. So it's kind of a continual project of throwing seeds over here, trying to see what will live. I have 2 big linden trees that sprout like this that have to get cut back around this time of year. So I did get some camassia to come up this year. I have a few, like there's a gilia here coming up, so I just keep putting seeds out, trying to transform that into a meadow. I'm gonna plant some more feverfew along here in the future. And then there's bulbs that come up along here, so I need an idea about what to plant along this brick wall here. And we've got sort of a garage, garbage area before we transition to the black fence in the backyard. So the property goes, oh, these are new. So this guy is my saddest right now. Trying to save that oak leaf hydrangea. Might be too dark under these rhododendrons. And then I've got 2 climbing hydrangeas I put in here. And then this also doesn't get irrigation, so I'm slowly adding things here. This is an inside out flower. And some sedum. And more sedum staged there to go in. And then we had this rock wall extended back here so that there's a planting bed and water here. And then this is a clematis I had moved and I thought was dead, so I'm excited to see that coming back. That's a native plant there. Let me just show you the alley really quick before we go up. So this is what the alley behind my house looks like, the back of the greenhouse, and then there's this wire that comes across, electrical that comes across the alley and goes down underground into our property. So there's some honeysuckles on the fence and some yarrow right now, some ferns. And then you can kind of get a peek into the yard. I just added that Acuba. Wasn't sure if it was going to make it for a minute, but it looks okay. We have this big pile of wood, which we were going to use as firewood, but now it just kind of serves as a block when people walk by, so they're not just staring into the backyard. All right. So walking into the backyard, there's the greenhouse. And then we have this area that I call Rhody Hill, because these are rhododendrons. Put in some maidenhair ferns. They're having a little hard time establishing because they were so big. But I'll just keep watering them. Hopefully they'll be okay. And then I slowly add ground covers along the steps back here. Some mondo grass. This is a Sun King Aurelia. And a small oak leaf hydrangea. That one's much happier than the one that's under the rhododendrons over there. But they are dropping some serious sap right now. So I've been popping a ton of ground covers over here, and I'm planning on installing this arbor. There to there. There's some more lady's mantle some of our native oxalis, some saxifrage, some strawberries, ginger, Solomon seal, primroses are under here. There's a little willow, dappled willow. Bleeding hearts, actually I still have some bleeding hearts blooming. I had to put this little bench here to keep the dogs off of it. There's a fern hugging a Japanese maple. Need to cut that back and give it some room. And then over on this side, we still have some alyssum. And then this fuchsia plant is finally starting to take root. Really pretty golden color. These Japanese maples have not been trimmed this year, so they are very furry. We're at the top of the waterfall now. There are bulbs in this area. These two beds are not irrigated. So I put some of this bishop's hat in that will hopefully get comfortable in here. Some foxgloves planted themselves this year. And then there's another layer down with a rhododendron and a new tree. Just to orient you to where we are, there's apple tree and the greenhouse there. So we have a patio here where we hang chairs, hammocks, and our ceiling was leaking. We have a bladder in the ceiling that's supposed to catch water and direct it over to a drain over here. But it was leaking, so the contractors took it off and are supposed to be working on that. Ping pong table. So I have a water source here. We're going to install a hose link right there. And then I get chestnuts planted everywhere. This one's even coming up under the stairs because of that big chestnut tree in the front. This area I planted up with my aunt almost a year ago. It's very shady. There's the back of the gate where we started. And I have a gorgeous Japanese maple that my neighbors helped us save by letting us do this little jog in the fence. So yeah, let's do a quick walk through this area and then we'll go down to the greenhouse area. So I did stick some lambs here in the wall. We'll see how that does. And there's lamium, garbage, apparently. Astilbes, sweet box, hellebores. Oh, this Astilbes got a little bit of a bloom on it. Looks like there's quite a few pests back here munching all these leaves. Some Japanese sweet flag grass. Some native Oregon oxalis there. Some bleeding hearts. And then this is Fatshedra. Let me move not too fast, which is a cutting from this Fatshedra here. Climbing up the stairway. There's some heuchera, some more chestnuts. This is a choicea. No, it's not. Mexican orange. I can't remember the name of that one. Then there's some honeysuckle that's actually doing okay. Here has new growth this year. A brunnera, and then this hosta has been eaten within an inch of its life. We'll see if it buds down here. And then we have baby tears on the ground. So it doesn't help. These plants are right in front of the fans for our house here, so they have to be pretty hardy. Let me turn around slowly. And then you will see that we're in the middle of a brick project back in the backyard. Let's go take a look. I haven't found anything to live in these pots yet. They're not irrigated. They did have some bulbs in them. There's irrigation there along the fence, so that Fatsia is pretty happy. It's got some browning on the leaves. I'm not sure what that is. And then this is kind of our giant cedar here. Bed. It has maidenhair ferns, no, not maidenhair, western sword ferns underneath it, which seems to be a good fit. And this kind of a side view of a rhododendron heading down. And then this is a brick path project. I'll give you an update when that gets finalized. And then I've got a bunch of stuff laid out for when I traveled so that it would get hit by these sprinklers over here and stay nice and shady. So that Acuba is actually in the ground. And then I've got things I need to plant here. A bunch of babies. Those are the clematis that I planted in a previous video. Some goat's beard. So I've been planting along this path, but didn't want to go too crazy because they are obviously putting the brick pathway in. So this brick pathway, I ordered worn bricks that were supposed to look like the same as the bricks on the greenhouse, but I didn't realize it was only going to be the sides of the bricks. So I'm pretty bummed that it's just going to look like that. If anyone has ideas about how to age bricks, I'm planning on spraying them with yogurt or something. And here we have some super old apple trees in the backyard that I don't really produce apples, but I like them for their moss and their vibes. So we have a little brick patio area. There's a new maple tree I put in, Japanese maple. And then I've got some earthbox containers back here with roots that I started, or things I didn't have anywhere else to go. You saw me plant this box up. I've taken a few things out of there. And then I've been enjoying putting these acanthus in pots. So this will be another one of those bear's breeches. It's the bud. I think that one's called whitewater or something. And then we're right under a tree here. So I plan to put a little path here, and I put some natives, some bunchberry, and some salal that will fill in under this apple tree. And then along the back of the greenhouse, I have some different places to put pots and things I'm working on. I had some sad cherry trees that were in pots for like 3 years. So I'm shocked that this Rainier cherry is producing, but it brings us joy to have those. So I've got that there. This one completely died and came back from lower down, so I tied it up on the dead part. And then my son put a bunch of sunflowers in the ground here, so we'll see if any of those live. And there is our little seating area from this angle, and the brick pathway that's going to go along there. And then I have a table right now just kind of holding odds and ends that I'm wondering if they'll come back. It looks like some of them are coming back. Some Gara, some yarrow, some chives or onions. And then this is the upper view of the alley. Lots of yarrow and honeysuckle. There's a peach tree here. And then some more stuff I stuck in pots right before I left. Lots of sunflower starts. And then I put some cardboard down to try to suppress a big weed population that was here. So that's what's going on there. And then I have, this is my composting method right now. I had put this lid on here to just cover that, but that's not necessary. So this you can kind of resize with these clips. That's the easiest way for me to dump empty things out. I have a shed here that is just completely falling apart. And this is on the back side of my outside workstation for my greenhouse. So I have compost here, soil, lots of pots to work with, stuff that needs to get cleaned up on the sink here. And then I have a splitter for water here at the sink, for my hose link here, and for right now a hose that goes all the way around up that wall and into the waterfall to refill the waterfall when it gets low. And then my brother-in-law and sister brought me some beautiful logs from their property, so I've been playing around with where I want to put those. In my garden, I have some plants I'm trying out that can handle having lots of water in them. There's cypress over there. There's lemongrass here. And then lots of things I stuck in plant pots really quick before I left. Some tithonia. And then lots of little sunflowers, just an experiment to see if they'll grow here. Some roses that needed to get potted up. And I'll have to do a more detailed backyard tour eventually. But the plan is to have an archway here that's not quite in the right spot yet. And then I'm going to do flagstone there and where this path is here, and a big flagstone right in front of the greenhouse there. And then we'll do flagstones back up to the gate over there where the other flagstones start. And then this is our enchanted forest here and electrical. And then I set some tables up in front of the greenhouse here, just staging. Here's another Fat's Hedra that likes shade. And I put a new dawn climbing rose on this side that I'm hoping will grow up the greenhouse. So I did bring my key, so let's go in. It's kind of chaotic in here because I got halfway through setting up the watering system and had to give up because it was time to go. So that's all the buckets and stuff you see here. Eventually I'll get that set up and walk you through it. But I have 4 earth box containers there. Looks like I've got some powdery mildew starting with Korean melon. Oh, right, while I'm here I should show you my lemon tree. There's some lemons. Some nasturtiums getting munched by something. I've got a squash. I've got a bunch of cucumber plants. Some tomatoes. Tomatoes in the corner, peppers, ground cherries coming along. There's some beans up here that will hopefully catch some flies. There's a passion flower plant in the corner. I've got tomatillos going here. And then my friend brought me over some epazote from her garden. And then I didn't have a spot to put this while I was gone, so I set it in the moist earth box container, and it seems to have worked. These are some junior sunflowers in a seed snail. So it's rooting itself down into that container, which I will have to uproot it soon. I have some scented geraniums around. There's 2 there, and there's 2 in another spot. Let me walk around. Oh boy. And there's a little bit of basil in this container here. And then I've been playing around with dividing a large bird of paradise. So we'll see if these survive. They're taking up a lot of room. And then I have basil all along the front here that I started from seed in these self-watering containers. And then this scented geranium was getting too much sun, so I moved her over here to settle in. And then I have a spider on me right now. No. Okay, then I've got a little propagation station over here. I think this one got a little too dry, but I have scented geranium trying to propagate here. No roots yet. And then I've got some scented geranium in there. Do we have any roots yet? It's stuck. Let's take a look. No roots yet, but it's alive. And then I did root some more of that Fats hedra. You can see all the roots in there. That needs to get planted out. And then I have my sink, soil, and then my workstation here is super chaotic, but that's okay. So that is the greenhouse right now. Trying to grow veggies in here, trying to get self-watering system going. I ran a hose along the back and the hose is popped up in the corner over there. So I'll have to show you when I get that done. So I kind of keep this shade up a little bit right now, and I keep the one on this side up all the way so that I have the side under the enchanted forest is kind of my shady side to keep things that I don't want to get quite as hot. Alrighty, let's go back out with the loud waterfall. We're gonna go into my studio, which is chaotic right now, and just take a look at my growing station. This is how I left things, with a self-watering mat, dome, and then this had this lid on it, and these were not as far along. You can see they did develop a little algae in there, but did get some growth, and they didn't dry out too much. Not too bad. Oh man. All right. Mint. Some onions. Some chard. This mint is pretty happy. This one, parsley went to seed, but I enjoy that. And I think, let's walk around the grill here. I think these, oh, I got lavender in here. Rosemary, and then these carrots that I planted went to seed. They're really pretty. Look at this carrot flower. Oh, hello. This is what happens when an ornamental gardener grows veggies. We're right above that side stair area. So I just haven't taken these out yet because I haven't needed to. Ooh, look at all the mushrooms. Thanks for joining me. I hope you enjoyed that garden tour. Let me know what you have questions about down in the comment section so I can figure out what to make more videos about for you in the future. I'll put some more videos that I've already made here if you want to stick around on my channel, and subscribe if you haven't yet. Thanks for joining me. Hope to see you again in the greenhouse soon. Bye.